I'm getting close.
Oh, man!
That's a missile, dude.
It's a vessel.
Can you please respond?
All right, what do you want me to do? Get a picture of it.
Deadliest Catch is a popular reality TV series aired on the Discovery Channel since April 12, 2005. It documents the lives of crab fishermen during the intense Alaskan crab fishing seasons.
There's stuff.
That's life. And I know that they transit this area.
One of the featured vessels is the Time Bandit, which faces both highs and lows during its voyages.
Watch out! Oh, man!
However, a recent incident occurred when they encountered another vessel illegally trailing them, known as poaching.
What do you got over there, Rick?
Yeah, he's almost here.
This illegal activity not only disrupts their fishing operations, but also poses risks to the crew's safety. Join us as we explore the impact of these illegal encounters on the Time Bandit crew's safety and productivity. The violation in the ocean. At the beginning of the series, a missile was released into the air, which caused panic among the crew on the Time Bandit ship. One of them was asked to take a picture, and it was a missile coming towards them. On Deadliest Catch, the most illegal moments involve confrontations with illegal poachers and unintentionally entering foreign territory. Next, the captain saw their co-labor Northwestern on the map and tried to reach them, but to no avail before they started fishing. Sig said if a boat like that enters the area, it could destroy their fishing gear. He is worried about his fishing gear, so he tries to contact the vessel that has intruded on his operation. He said when they began, there was no one around, but now they can be seen on automatic identification systems. An automatic identification system, or AIS, broadcasts a vessel's position so that other vessels know its position. The International Maritime Organization and other governing bodies require large vessels, including many commercial fishing vessels, to transmit their position via AIS to avoid collision. More than 400,000 AIS devices transmit vessel position, identification, course, and speed information each year. Ground stations and satellites collect this information, enabling vessels to be tracked even in the most remote areas of the ocean. AIS-equipped fishing vessels account for more than half of the fishing effort that occurs beyond 100 nautical miles, offshore, and up to 80% of the catch offshore. The number of AIS-equipped fishing vessels is increasing by 30% every year, making this technology increasingly informative over time. Since the neighboring ship did not respond to his call, Sig decided to continue his operation and hoped that the vessel would not interfere with his setup. He's well aware that he cannot get a read on their gear because they do not know what is happening. However, Sig is thrilled with his catch, but he remains vigilant of the silent trawler, trailing them from 2 miles away. He explained that fishing is always a gamble, but at this very moment, he believes the risk is worth it. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Although it is not the ideal time to do so, the captain notices a suspicious vessel trailing them from a suspicious distance. It is about 6 miles away from them, and it was certain the person was watching them. To determine if their suspicions are correct, Captains Keith and Rick decide to try to lose the boat, since it may be after their catches, while they are traveling at about 7 knots. They use the radar to avoid a suspected illegal vessel, because the automatic identification system makes them invisible. One of the Aleutian ladies' pots gets tangled up, and this only makes the crew more agitated since there is a possibility that it could be poached while they are not looking this deep into American waters. After a while, they plan to settle later in the night. Keith and Rick keep their eyes peeled in hopes of catching the poaching vessel trailing them. When the vessel barrels towards them with ill intent, Rick decides to set a trap for them that will not scare them away. With their fireworks ready, the Wizard and her crew wait patiently as the vessel slowly veers into range before the bombardment begins. The Time Bandit and the Wizard, in their pursuit of catches, decide to get a little too close to the Russian border with their flag up in the air. The fishing vessels drop their pots in an attempt to fend off Russian trawlers. A fishing trawler is a commercial fishing vessel designed for trawling. Trolling is a method of fishing in which the trawler is actively towed in the water behind one or more trawlers. Trawls are fishing nets that are dragged along the seabed or in the middle of the water at a certain depth. The trawler can also use 2 or more trawl nets at the same time, double and multi-gear. There are many varieties of trolling lures. They vary according to local traditions, bottom conditions, and the size and power of the trawlers. A trawler can be a small open boat with only 30 horsepower and 22 kilowatts, or a large factory vessel with 10,000 horsepower and 457 kilowatts. Trawl versions include house trawlers, large-bore midwater trawlers, and large bottom trawlers such as rock wolves equipped with heavy rubber wheels that allow the net to crawl over rocky bottoms. The captain instructed the crew to let the pots into the water and let Operation Anvil Drop begin. They are dropping the anvil on the Ruskies with 220 pots set to create a blockade. An anvil is a piece of iron on which metal is placed to be shaped, originally by hammering by hand. A blacksmith's anvil is usually forged, but sometimes cast iron, and the smooth working surface is made of hardened steel. A conical nose or horn projecting at one end is used to punch curved pieces of metal. Sometimes one end has a rectangular beak. Tools such as an anvil knife or chisel can be placed with the cutting edge up in a holder, consisting of a square hole in the surface of the anvil. When using power hammers, the anvil is supported on a heavy block, which in turn rests on a solid base of wood and masonry or concrete. Captains Keith and Jonathan block off the Russian trawler from plundering the water. In a race against time and the tumultuous waves, Keith finds himself slowly getting pushed off course and into the Russian border, an accident that could cause trouble for them if they are not careful. He stated that he was running out of space and that the current was pushing him hard. He said, "I am opposed to trying to go over the line because I do not want to know the consequences." He continued, "The Russian line is 39 feet. I may have just gone 60 feet into the wrong waters. I hope we did not just start an international incident against them." With the crew noting an illegal trailing vessel, they seek to salvage the moment. What are other illegal activities done on the water? Unlicensed crab poaching. The main illegal action against fishermen in water is poaching. Poaching is the illegal hunting or trapping of wildlife, usually associated with land use rights. Poor peasants once engaged in poaching to make ends meet and supplement their meager diet. This conflicted with the hunting rights of the nobility and regional rulers. The schedule for crab fishing has been uncertain lately, with variations due to environmental conditions. However, poachers have been flocking to the beaches near Half Moon Bay, using unusual methods of transportation. According to Lieutenant James Ober of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the poaching was relatively calm until recent times, when large groups of people began arriving at night to poach the crabs. The poachers were using Uber to travel to and from the beach, which was surprising given that Tunitas Creek Beach closes at sunset. Lieutenant Ober said that in the past couple of months, they have issued over 200 citations and released more than 700 Dungeness crabs back into the ocean. This is important because female crabs are coming to shore to lay their eggs, and taking them at this time can negatively impact their ability to reproduce. John Barnett of the San Francisco Crab Boat Owners Association said that taking crab early in the season is wasteful and can negatively impact future fishery seasons. Lieutenant Ober also mentioned that education is needed to help people understand the impact of their actions, and that wildlife officials are keeping a close eye on the beaches at night. In North America, the apparent lawlessness of poachers escalated into armed conflicts with law enforcement, including the Chesapeake Bay Oyster Wars and the joint U.S.-British Bering Sea, anti-poaching operation in 1891 over seal hunting, violation of hunting laws and regulations related to seal hunt nature management, and local or international conservation programs are nature crimes that are usually punishable. In the United States, the following offenses and crimes are considered poaching: the hunting, killing, or collection of wildlife by the International Union for Conservative of Nature, and laws such as the Endangered Species Act, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, and other animals international agreements such as Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES. Illegal fishing and hunting, capturing wild animals outside legal time and hunting season. Usually, the breeding season is declared closed at a time of year when nature is protected by law. Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries officials cited a man accused of stealing crabs from traps that did not belong to him. Tracy Bruce, 46, was charged with theft of crab traps, taking commercial fish without a license, and robbery. Commercial fish without a commercial fishing license, using crab traps without required tags, removing illegal content, and using an unregistered motorboat. Officers received a complaint that Bruce was fishing several traps belonging to other fishermen. Agents stopped Bruce on August 2nd after seeing him operating traps he did not own. At the time, Bruce owned about 24 crabs, 46 of which he did not own and did not have the proper permits. Bruce admitted to the agents that he did a lot of catching that day, and also on other occasions. After the incident, the agents returned the crabs to the water. Theft of crab traps, unlawful removal of contents, and using crab traps without the necessary markings are punishable by up to $500 in fines and 120 days in jail, according to the Wildlife Department. Another illegal activity done on the water is illegal fishing. Every fisherman ought to be armed with a license to proceed. If this is not done, what will be the consequences? 20% of fishes caught illegally. There are so many of you, it takes some time to catch up. The 33-year-old sea veteran and beloved Captain Sig Hansen announces in the opening minutes of the first episode of the 19th season of the television series, which began almost 20 years ago in 2005. To symbolically prove his point and send a message, Hansen sets fire to the raft as he drops it into the water, which is the background to the show's opening credits. This reveals his encounter and displeasure about illegal fishing. One of the biggest enemies of legal fishing crews is illegal fishing. Illegal fishing is the term used to describe fishing operations carried out by foreign vessels in another state's territorial waters without authorization, or that violate the state's fisheries laws and regulations in other ways, such as by ignoring the state's protected areas or fishing hours. Certain illegal unreported unregulated vessels, IUU for instance, are registered in states in West Africa and operate in their territorial waters. These nations typically lack the resources to set up efficient fisheries control systems, which allows the illegal unreported unregulated vessels to frequently operate with impunity. According to the World Wildlife Fund, currently, we simply cannot tell if the fish we eat were caught legally because our current laws are not strong enough to trace from bait to plate, which is a problem. The world's fisheries are already suffering from extreme legal fishing, and when you add in pirate fishing, we have a serious problem. Not only that, illegal fishing also has other harmful effects, such as destroying underwater habitats. Unsurprisingly, legal fishermen like the Deadliest Catch fleet do not favor illegal opportunists. In the first 5 minutes of the episode dealing with the issue, Hansen announces, "I'm going to talk to the Coast Guard and see what we can do to help." Next on the scene, the U.S. Coast Guard Alaska captains sit down with Holland Harbor to discuss the dangers of illegal fishing. Junior Lieutenant Gray Lucas Soines speaks to a small audience and explains the matter. According to the lieutenant, both foreign and domestic fishermen complicate the work of those who operate within the limits of legality by fishing in an unregulated area or even deliberately avoiding existing regulations. Junior Lieutenant Soines warns that about 20 to 30% of the fish on the market are illegally caught. You are all spearheads day after day, so if you see something, say something. He then wishes the fishermen their best before leaving. In 2021, The Economist called illegal fishing the worst joke of all human activity in the ocean because of its dire impact on the unsustainable management of ocean life and habitat. In addition to costing the industry and legal workers an incredible amount of money, illegal fishing is one of the biggest obstacles to preventing overfishing. From the point of view of the fishermen, illegal, undeclared, and unregulated fishing is very attractive because they do not pay taxes or duties for this catch. Another reason why illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing is so widespread is that it can often be done with impunity. This applies mainly in the territorial waters or economic zones of countries that cannot afford to create expensive and complex fishing control structures, for example in Europe. The situation is particularly difficult in developing countries. In a comprehensive analysis of global illegal unreported unregulated fishing, the researchers conclude that illegal unreported unregulated fishing occurs mainly in countries with typical symptoms of weak governance, widespread corruption, conflicting legislation, and a lack of will or ability to enforce existing national legislation. Species that inhabit and feed on or close to the ocean floor are frequently the target of illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing. Examples of these species include cod, salmon, trout, lobster, and prawns. Its primary focus is on species that are already overfished due to legal fishing, or that are restricted for the sake of fisheries management. Demand and prices are high for these species because they can only be traded in small quantities, which makes it a profitable industry for illegal, unreported, unregulated fishermen. There are other related activities on crabbing, which include catching the commercialized crabs, fishing equipment, and lots more. Let's dive into it. King crab fishing on Alaskan waters. Alaskan king crab fishing is conducted in the fall in the coastal waters of Alaska and the Aleutian Islands. Commercial harvest is shipped worldwide. Large quantities of king crab are also caught in Russian and international waters. In the 1980s, at the peak of the king crab industry, Alaska fisheries produced up to 200 million pounds and 91 million kilograms of crab. By 1983, however, the total catch had declined by as much as 90% in some areas. Several theories have been proposed for the sudden decline of crab populations, including overfishing, warmer waters, and increased predation by fish. As a result, the current season is very short, and only 24 million pounds and 11 million kilograms of red king crab were landed in the 2010 season. Crab fishing in Alaska is extremely dangerous and has a high mortality rate among its fishermen, which is about 80 times higher than the average worker. It has been claimed that an average of one crab fisherman dies each week during the season. Commercial fishing boats range from 12 to 75 meters in length, are equipped with hydraulic systems to lift their catch, and can withstand the freezing temperatures of the Bering Sea. A fishing vessel is a boat or vessel used to catch fish and other valuable nectonic aquatic animals. For example, shrimp, krill, coleoids, etc., from the sea, lake, or river. People used various surface vessels for commercial, small-scale, and recreational fishing. Each fishing boat sets its schedule on the side, often being out for days or weeks. Fishermen use a box-shaped trap called a pot, which consists of a steel frame covered with nylon netting. Traps and pots are built-in three-dimensional devices made of wire or wood that allow organisms to enter the enclosure but make escape extremely difficult or impossible. Typically, bait is attached to the trap to lure the organisms inside, where they await the return of the fishermen to get them and rebait the traps. Most traps are attached to a buoy on the surface with a line. Traps can be set individually or in long continuous sets called trawls to depths of up to 2,400 feet and 730 meters. The size, composition, and threats to protected species of traps vary depending on the target species. Each pot weighs about 600 to 800 pounds, which is between 70 to 360 kilograms, and a ship can carry around 150 to 300 pots. The bait is fish, usually herring or cod, and then the pot is lowered to the bottom of the sea where king crabs live. Pots are dropped in a straight line known as a line to make them easier to retrieve. The red and blue king crab is found in the intertidal zone and at depths of 100 fathoms, 600 feet, and 180 meters. The red king crab, also known as the Kamchatka crab or the Alaskan king crab, is a species of king crab found in the cold waters of the North Pacific and adjacent seas, as well as the Barents Sea. It grows up to 1.8 meters long and is a target for fishing. The red king crab is the largest species of king crab. Red king crabs can reach up to 28 centimeters and 11 inches across the back, 1.8 meters 5.9 feet, and weigh 12.7 kilograms and 28 pounds. Males grow larger than females. Today, red crabs rarely exceed 17 centimeters 7 inches across the back, and a male caught in the Bering Sea weighs an average of 2.9 kilograms, 6.4 pounds. It gets its name from the color it turns when cooked rather than the color of the live animal, which is usually burgundy. The red king crab is distributed in the cold waters of the North Pacific and nearby seas, extending from the Bering Sea south to the Gulf of Alaska, the Kamchatka Peninsula, and the Sea of Okhotsk and Japan. Red crabs have been seen in water temperatures ranging from -1.8 to 12.8 degrees Celsius, and from 28.8 to 55.0 degrees Fahrenheit, which is typically 3.2 to 5.5 degrees Celsius. Immatures prefer temperatures below 6 degrees Celsius. The depth at which it can live depends largely on the stage of its life cycle. The newly hatched crab, Zoea larvae, remains in shallow water where there is plenty of food and shelter. Generally, after reaching the age of 2 years, crabs move to a depth of 20-50 meters and participate in the so-called hundreds of crabs gathering in dense, highly concentrated groups. Adult crabs are usually found deeper than 200 meters, 656 feet, in sandy and muddy areas of the bottom. They migrate to shallower depths to mate in winter or early spring, but spend most of their lives in deep water, where they feed. The red king crab is the most coveted of the commercially sold king crab species, and it is the most expensive per unit weight. Red king crabs are experiencing a steady decline in numbers in their native Far East coastal waters for unclear reasons, though several theories for the precipitous drop in the crab population have been proposed, including overfishing, warmer waters, and increased fish predation. One of the biggest crabs are red king, which can weigh up to 24 pounds and have legs up to 5 feet in length. Compared to females, males grow bigger and faster. Juvenile red king crabs travel in groups called pods to stay safe and away from predators. They eat at night and mound up during the day. Tens of thousands of crabs can be found in these pods. Sadly, there have been sharp drops in the number of red king crab populations in Alaska in recent years. King crab declines are probably caused by warming waters and decreased availability of forage as a result of climate change. All king crabs, including the blue one, are decapod or 10-legged, crustaceans with characteristic tails, or abdomens that are fan-shaped and tucked under the back of the shell. Along with their 5 pairs of legs, they also have 5 pairs of claws or pincers on the first, the largest claws on an adult's right, 3 pairs of walking legs, and a small 5th pair of legs that are typically tucked under the back of their carapace, the shell covering their back. During mating, the male uses these specialized legs to transfer sperm to the female, and the adult female uses them to clean her embryos or fertilize eggs. The golden king crab lives at depths of 100 to 400 fathoms, 180 to 720 meters, 600 to 2,400 feet. Lithides equispinus, the golden king crab, also known as the brown king crab, is a species of king crab native to the North Pacific Ocean. Golden king crabs are found mainly in the Aleutian Islands and waters closer to Alaska and British Columbia. Their territory also extends to the Russian Far East and Japan, although the population density is lower. Gold crabs are the smallest of the 3 commercially viable Alaskan king crab species, averaging between 2.3 and 3.6 kilograms. The other 2 species are the blue and red king crab. Historically, golden king crabs were also caught in the red king crab fishery, but the first commercial landing took place in 1975. In 1981, a fishing method specifically aimed at golden king crabs, the hybrid fishing method, was developed. They have 5 pairs of legs, the front pair bearing claws. Golden crabs get their name from the orange-brown to golden hue of their shells. The shell is mostly made of calcium. Like other king crabs, golden king crabs are large and have long spiny legs. However, compared to blue and red crabs, they are much smaller, typically weighing 5 to 8 pounds, and with significantly thinner legs. The golden king crab also has a distinct spine, usually with 5 to 9 spines on the mid-dorsal plate. Regardless of their size, golden king crabs tend to have the lowest meat filling compared to other Alaskan king crabs. They also have a fan-shaped tail flap located on the back and underside of their body. Adult female crayfish retrieve the embryos from under their tail flaps. Although Lithides equispinus may be called either golden king crab or brown king crab, U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, Title 21, Food and Drugs, Part 102, Section 102, 50. The correct trademark for that product is brown king crab meat, but in November 2017, this was replaced by Section 774 of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2017, which established the correct trademark as golden king crab. The location of the pod is marked on the surface with a buoy, which is later used for recycling. After the pots are allowed to rest on the seabed, usually 1-2 days for red and blue king crabs, longer for golden king crabs, the pots are lifted back to the surface using a hydraulic winch with a pulley on the end. Block. The pot is then brought to the boat and the crew sorts the catch. Crabs that do not meet the size and sex requirements of the regulations are discarded. The crabs are kept alive in a holding tank until the boat reaches shore where they are sold. If the weather gets too cold, live crabs can freeze and explode. If left in a tank too long, they can injure and possibly take the life of each other because they can be cannibalistic. Even rocking the boat can hurt the crabs, so planks are pushed in and held to prevent excessive lateral movement. If a crab dies in the hold for any reason, it releases toxins that can take out other crabs. If the crew cannot remove the dead crabs, they can poison the entire tank and damage the crop. Storekeepers are given a percentage of the profits after the owner's share is taken into account. It can range from $0 to tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the size of the catch. So-called greenhorns in their first fishing season are paid a fixed amount of money. What are your thoughts on these illegal acts on water? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more exciting stories.